Hi, my name is Jonathan Quigley, and welcome back to Fun Facts! Did you know in order for a human to run on water, they would need to reach a speed of at least 67 miles per hour? That's really fast!
I am speed.
Speaking of running on water, female anacondas will strangle and eat male anacondas after mating so they can survive the 7 months of fasting during pregnancy. And I thought my wife's cravings were bad. Speaking of snakes, the city of Toronto has 90 fake houses which have power transformers inside them that distribute energy throughout the city. These houses look real enough on the outside, but on the inside, they only contain electricity and lies. Liar! Did you know Sister Mary Kenneth Keller was the first woman to get a PhD in computer science? Good for her.
Sim detected.
Speaking of Finland, the phrase "nu halate, nu simala" is Finnish for "the flu is healed by f***ing." I don't know what this means and I'm scared. Did you know in 1518, the dance fever was a brief plague that struck France, in which hundreds of people danced for no apparent reason for about a month? Several of them danced themselves to death. Speaking of death, in medieval times, the corpses of sick people were used as catapult ammunition as a form of biological warfare, proving once again that medieval times were the most disgusting time to be alive. Speaking of stuff that's old, America's oldest hippo is named Lou. He's 60 years old, and his name is short for Lucifer. Speaking of the devil, are you frustrated by not knowing the weather in Rock Island, Illinois? Well, then you'll like our latest segment, The Weather in Rock Island, Illinois, by Sam Flip. What's the weather like, Sam?
Hi, I'm Sam Flip, and this is the weather in Rock Island, Illinois. Today, it's sunny. I'm Sam Flip, and this has been the weather in Rock Island, Illinois. Back to you, John.
Thanks, Sam. Did you know male kangaroos are called boomers? That's neat. Speaking of politics, the Tory power stance is a body position used by British politicians in order to convey power and confidence. This stance is achieved by stretching your legs wide apart and relaxing your upper body, like so. And finally, our last fun fact. On April 7th, 2007, a movie theater in New York was filled with children and their parents who were there to see The Last Mimsy. Unfortunately, there was a mix-up, and the audience was accidentally shown the film The Hills Have Eyes Too. And I thought my wife's cravings were bad. My name is Jonathan Quigley, and those were some fun facts. Tune in next time for something different. Hi, my name is Jonathan Quigley, and these are some fun facts. Did you know owls have really long legs? Speaking of owls, in 1950, a toy company released a children's science kit called the Atomic Energy Lab, which contained 4 samples of radioactive uranium ore and a Geiger counter. The product was guaranteed to be completely safe so long as the radioactive samples were never removed from their containers. Because if there's one thing children are known for, it's respecting nuclear safety warnings. Speaking of America, did you know the majority of Confederate monuments were erected decades after the South lost the Civil War? The majority of them were erected between the years of 1890 and 1950, with the biggest spike occurring between 1900 and 1920. I wonder if anything significant was going on during that time. Did you know in New York City, the cost of a slice of pizza has matched the cost of a subway ride for 50 years? This phenomenon has been so historically consistent that economists have named it the pizza principle, which also happens to be the title of my sex tape. Speaking of men, did you know researchers in South Korea discovered that men are capable of sensing the Earth's geomagnetic field, but only under blue light and only when they're hungry? Speaking of drugs, in 1961, NASA funded a research group to investigate if dolphins could learn how to talk. One of the experiments involved giving a dolphin LSD. The dolphin actually became much more talkative while on LSD, but unfortunately, no one could understand anything it was saying. The researchers even tried taking LSD themselves with the dolphin, but as it turns out, dolphins can't speak English. And now it's time for the weather in Rock Island, Illinois, with Sam Flip. How's the weather looking, Sam?
Hi, I'm Sam Flip, and this is the weather in Rock Island, Illinois. Today, it's cloudy, so it might rain later. I'm Sam Flip, and this has been the weather in Rock Island, Illinois. Back to you, John.
Thanks, Sam. Did you know that there are land leeches found in the jungles of Asia? That's nice. Speaking of Asia, in 2016, the country of Kyrgyzstan sought to amend their constitution. Unfortunately, they weren't able to because their official copy of the constitution was missing. The government of Kyrgyzstan later claimed that the document wasn't missing because there never actually was an official document in the first place. Did you know in 1961, Yuri Gagarin, the first man in space, stopped the vehicle that was transporting him to the launch pad so he could step outside and pee real quick before going into space? Since that day, it has been considered good luck for cosmonauts to stop the vehicle that is transporting them to the launch pad and pee on it before going into space. And for our last fun fact, while filming the movie Titanic, the cast and crew were served chowder for lunch one day. But what they did not realize was that someone had spiked the chowder with PCP. 60 cast and crew members ate from the chowder that day, including director James Cameron, and all 60 of them were sent to a nearby hospital. While high on PCP, the director, James Cameron, was stabbed in the face with a pen by a fellow crew member. And to this day, no one knows who spiked the chowder with PCP. My name is Jonathan Quigley, and those were some fun facts. Tune in next time for other fun facts about different things. Hi, my name is Jonathan Quigley, and these are athletic facts. Did you know kite flying is a professional sport in Thailand? Speaking of kites, in 1943, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Pittsburgh Steelers both lost so many players due to the World War II draft that they had to combine into one team for the season. The name of this team was the Steagles. Speaking of Pittsburgh, all three of the major sports teams in Pittsburgh have the same team colors, black and gold. However, the Pittsburgh Panthers collegiate team colors are blue and gold, which is odd because Panthers are black. Speaking of team colors, did you know all Major League Baseball umpires are required to wear black underwear in case their pants split open? Which I find confusing as hell. Why don't they just wear something other than gray dress pants? Their job is squatting over dirt for hours. They should be wearing sweatpants or booty shorts. Did you know the longest tennis match of all time took place at the 2010 Wimbledon Championships? It lasted over 11 hours and took place over the course of 3 whole days. Unfortunately, both of the participants lost all of their subsequent matches at the championships due to extreme exhaustion. Speaking of esports, Roosevelt University is offering athletic scholarships to League of Legends players and considers League of Legends to be a varsity sport. While this may be surprising to some, the esports industry has been valued at over $1 billion, and the whole point of college sports is to make money. So universities are just trying to get a piece of the pie. Thank you, capitalism. Speaking of capitalism, the official state sport of Maryland is jousting. And frankly, that's the best news I've heard all month. It looks like it's halftime, which means it's time for the weather in Rock Island, Illinois, with Sam Flip. How's the weather looking, Sam?
Hi, I'm Sam Flip, and this is the weather in Rock Island, Illinois. There's a bit of a heat wave today, and I am very sweaty. I'm Sam Flip, and this has been the weather in Rock Island, Illinois. Back to you, John.
Thanks, Sam. Did you know the most popular sport in nudist communities is volleyball? This fact is both unsurprising and satisfying. Speaking of satisfaction, the 1912 Olympics were the last time that Olympic gold medals were made entirely of gold. They are now made of silver with gold plating. There's a metaphor here, and I don't know what it is. Speaking of the Olympics, did you know that the tug of war was an official Olympic event from the years 1900 to 1920? That means that the tug of war has been missing from the Olympics for 100 years. But I believe the tug of war will save the world. And for our last athletic fact, it's well known that the ancient Greek Olympians would often compete in the nude. But did you know that these Olympians would often tie a string around their penises in order to keep them secured while they were competing? These strings were called kunodesme, which, when translated to English, means dog leash. My name is Jonathan Quigley, and those were some athletic facts. Tune in next time for other facts about different things. Hi, my name is Jonathan Quigley, and these are some art facts. Did you know in 2016, a group of artists in Russia painted over the famous Soviet star and made it look like Patrick's star? Speaking of Patrick, Roman statues were built with detachable heads so that if the person the statue represented ever became unpopular, they could just swap out their head with a new one instead of paying for a whole new statue. Did you know the name of the model for the Mona Lisa is Lisa Gerardini? She also has her own mailbox at the Louvre because of all the love letters and poems she receives. And that's all we're going to say about the Mona Lisa. She was stolen in 1911, and that's the only reason she's famous. Quit pretending she's the perfect painting. Also, Pablo Picasso was accused of stealing the Mona Lisa. He did not, and that's the last thing we're saying about the Mona Lisa. Did you know while filming The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, Universal Studios couldn't get location permits to film a scene, but then decided to film the scene anyway and hired a fall guy to pretend to be the director and then spend a night in jail? Because there is no art form more noble than that of filmmaking. Speaking of spoons, New Jersey has a spoon museum which features over 5,400 different spoons from every state and almost every country. For anyone wondering if spoon collecting should be considered a form of art, I ask you, what is art? Speaking of, it's time for the weather in Rock Island, Illinois, with Sam Flip. What's the weather like, Sam?
Hi, I'm Sam Flip, and this is the weather in Rock Island, Illinois. Today, it's orange. I'm Sam Flip, and this has been the weather in Rock Island, Illinois. Back to you, John.
Thanks, Sam. Did you know Mount Rushmore is the largest statue on Earth? And I hate it. Speaking of paintings, the American Gothic, a famous painting by artist Grant Wood, does not depict a husband and wife. It actually depicts a father and his daughter. Interestingly, though, the artist used his sister and dentist as the models for the painting. But what does it all mean? Speaking of bad art, did you know Massachusetts is home to the Museum of Bad Art? An art museum whose mission statement is to celebrate the labor of artists whose work would be displayed and appreciated in no other forum. I have found my home. And for our last art fact, Vincent van Gogh was given the exact same name as his older brother, Vincent van Gogh, who died exactly 1 year before Vincent van Gogh was born. However, he's not alone. Salvador Dali was given the exact same name as his older brother, Salvador Dali, who died exactly 9 months before Salvador Dali was born. Salvador Dali believed that he was the reincarnated form of his older brother, Salvador Dali. My name is Jonathan Quigley, and those were some art facts. Tune in next time for other facts about different topics. Hi, my name is Jonathan Quigley, and these are some stoned facts. There are three main strains of cannabis: sativa, indica, and ruderalis. But people don't really smoke the last one because its THC concentration is so low. Oh, and THC is the chemical in marijuana that makes people feel high. If you didn't know that, now you know. Speaking of virgins, researchers recently found cannabis in the pipes smoked by William Shakespeare, meaning William Shakespeare smoked marijuana. This news was surprising to literally no one. Did you know in 1976 on New Year's Day, the Hollywood sign was altered by an artist to read Hollyweed? This exact same stunt was repeated in 2017, again on New Year's Day. One has to wonder when this will inevitably happen again. In 1941, Henry Ford designed a hemp car, which ran on hemp biofuel and was made almost entirely out of hemp plastic. This has led many to wonder whether or not Henry Ford smoked fatty blunts. Speaking of weed, this is a Thai stick. They were invented in Thailand and are made from wrapping several nugs of weed in marijuana leaves and then wrapping the whole thing with hemp wick. Some people go even further to dip the whole thing in hash oil and then roll it in keef. When done properly, a Thai stick can burn for up to 6 hours. You know, for those special occasions when you just want to die. And now for everybody's favorite segment, the weather in Rock Island, Illinois. Brought to you by Sam Flip. How's the weather looking, Sam? Thanks, Sam. Did you know pot is legal in North Korea? Or maybe it's not. I don't know. Wikipedia says there are conflicting reports, so it's kind of a mystery. Did you know the first item bought and sold online was weed? In 1971, Stanford technology students used the ARPANET, a foundational program of the modern internet, to arrange a drug deal with students from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. This is because technology students eat ass, smoke grass, and skate fast. Speaking of the internet, remember those 33 Chilean miners that were trapped underground for 69 days? Well, to help deal with the stress of the situation, they were given weed and porn. Speaking of porn, don't smoke pot while taking Viagra. Why? Just trust me on it. It's not good. Finally, for our last stoned fact, there are over 1,200 different street names for marijuana, some of which include Grass, Ganja, Mary Jane, The Devil's Lettuce, Loud, Nixon, Flower, Chronic, Babysitter, Baby, 13, Machinery, Pretendo, Rope, Meg, Fine Stuff, Feeling, Love Weed, Crazy Weed, Crying Weed, Christmas Tree, Chinese, Happy Cigarette, Left-Handed Cigarette, Alligator Cigarette, Macaroni, Alfalfa. My name is Jonathan Quigley, and those were some stoned facts. Tune in next time for other facts about different things. Hi, my name is Jonathan Quigley, and these are some dark facts. Did you know darkness is defined as the partial or total absence of light? This is why Earth experiences 12 hours of darkness when it rotates away from the sun. But did you know it takes 243 Earth days for Venus to complete one rotation? Meaning that a night on Venus lasts 121.5 Earth days. That's enough time to watch Night at the Museum 1,682 times. Did you know when humans spend extended periods of time in darkness, we eventually adjust to a 48-hour cycle? 36 hours of activity followed by 12 hours of sleep. It is still unknown why this happens. Speaking of darkness, Vantablack is one of the darkest substances ever created, absorbing 99.965% of visible light. When applied to an object, Vantablack creates the illusion of surfaces appearing two-dimensional. Speaking of fish, sunlight can travel a maximum of 1,000 meters below sea level. Beyond that point is absolute darkness. Some of the creepiest creatures in the ocean lurk at that depth, including anglerfish, giant isopods, and John Voight. Speaking of John Voight, it's time for the weather in Rock Island, Illinois, with Sam Flip. How's the weather looking, Sam?
Hi, I'm Sam Flip, and this is the weather in Rock Island, Illinois. It's nighttime, so it's pretty dark out. I'm Sam Flip, and this has been the weather in Rock Island, Illinois. Back to you, John.
Thanks, Sam. Did you know 12% of people dream entirely in black and white? One of these people is Mitch McConnell. Probably. Did you know nocturnal animals are only active at night? While most nocturnal animals have large eyes which allow them to see in the dark, such as cats and owls, some nocturnal animals have actually downgraded their eyesight in order to enhance other senses, such as bats, moles, and the Mexican tetrafish, which have no eyes at all. Speaking of that last thing, plant albinism exists, and due to the lack of chlorophyll on their leaves, they have to suck energy from the roots of neighboring plants, essentially making them vampires. And finally, our last dark fact, the car JFK was assassinated in was cleaned and repurposed back into rotation and served as the presidential limousine for Johnson, Nixon, Ford, and Carter until it was retired in 1977, 14 years after JFK was killed in it. My name is Jonathan Quigley, and those were some dark facts. Tune in next time for something different. Hi, my name is Jonathan Quigley, and these are not facts. Did you know rockhopper penguins are devout followers of the Satanic Temple? You can tell because of their eyebrows. Contrary to popular belief, the Earth is not a sphere. It is actually pyramid-shaped. Speaking of pyramids, the Great Pyramids of Giza were not built by the Egyptians, nor were they built by aliens. They actually formed naturally over the course of 200,000 years in a process known as spontaneous pyramidal lycanthropy. Did you know that farming was invented in the 1930s at the end of the Great Depression so that people wouldn't be hungry anymore? Prior to this, humans simply absorbed energy from sunlight in a process known as photosynthesis, which means picture production. Believe it or not, Bill Gates used to be an active member of the NRA, but left due to creative differences, stating, "I've got nothing against the group, I simply wasn't a fan of the new music we were producing and chose to move in a different direction." Speaking of names that start with the letter B, the name Brachiosaurus means face, because of how small its stupid-looking head is. And now it's time for the most profitable segment of this show, the weather in Rock Island, Illinois, with Sam Flip. How's the weather looking, Sam?
Hello, my name is Sam Flip, and this is the weather in Rock Island, Illinois. Due to technical difficulties, there is no weather in Rock Island, Illinois. I'm Sam Flip, and this has been the weather in Rock Island, Illinois. Back to you, Jonathan.
Thanks, Sam. Did you know bears cannot hurt you? Speaking of Brazilian food, spaghetti was first invented in 2002 by John Wilkes Booth after the surrender of the Allied powers during Star Wars Episode II, The Clone Wars. Did you know all babies are born with the instinctual knowledge of how to defuse a bomb? It is still unknown how or why babies know how to defuse bombs, but they do get results. Speaking of grass, did you know Ohio is the largest island on Earth? Its square footage is over 3,000 square yards, over twice the size of Japan. Did you know in 1984, over 26,000 people rioted in the streets of New Jersey due to a new law that allowed guitar players to murder anyone for any reason? Despite the intense public reaction to this controversial law, it has yet to be repealed and still remains in effect to this day. And finally, for our last non-factual fact, this YouTube video has been thoroughly informative and entertaining, and watching it has been an excellent use of your time today. My name is Jonathan Quigley, and those were not facts. Don't tune in next time. Hi, my name is Jonathan Quigley, and these are some technology facts. Welcome to the digital world, aka my garage. First, let's go over some of the rules and conditions of this new world. For starters, you're more likely to get a computer virus from visiting religious sites than porn sites, so be careful. Secondly, when you agree to the terms and conditions for iTunes, there is a specific clause in the agreement that states that you will not use this product for the development, design, manufacture, or production of nuclear missiles or biological weapons. Speaking of Apple, there is a smoking ban on Apple computers, meaning if you smoke while you're using any Apple computer, your warranty becomes void. Oh, and you're eventually going to run into this. This is CAPTCHA, which stands for Completely Automatic Public Turning Test to tell computers and humans apart. So now that we got the rules and agreements out of the way, let's talk about this place. We are in the internet, which is also where 4.5 billion people are every day. Those 4.5 billion people are connected to the internet across 26.6 billion different devices. So what are all these people doing on the internet? Well, a lot. More than 380 new websites are created every minute, and there are more than 350 million photos uploaded to Facebook every day, and 4.5 billion likes per day. 350,000 tweets are sent per minute, adding up to around 500 million tweets every day. And then there's videos, which make up almost 60% of all internet traffic. You know, your YouTube, Netflix, Hulu, porn, live stream of the Field of Dreams baseball field, that kind of stuff. Every minute, over 24 hours of video is uploaded to YouTube. In fact, YouTube uploads more content in a 60-day period than the 3 major US television networks created over the course of 60 years. Oh, and don't forget about the money. 91% of the world's currency is just digital. We'll just put it over there. It's probably safe. Did you know in 2017, 2.1 million people were still using AOL's dial-up service? In fact, there's even a term to describe people over the age of 50 who use the internet on a frequent basis. They're called the Silver Surfers. Speaking of slow internet, the average household has internet speeds roughly 25 megabits per second. Meanwhile, NASA's internet speed is around 91 gigabits per second. But let's be honest, they deserve it. In 2010, the United States Air Force used 1,760 PlayStation 3 consoles to build a supercomputer for the Department of Defense. Because apparently, it's more cost-effective to make a supercomputer out of PlayStations than it is to build one from scratch. Speaking of robots, in 2013, Amazon had 1,000 robots. Now, Amazon has over 100,000 robots operating across their warehouses. That should probably be fine. And finally, our last technology fact, history was made in 1992 when this picture became the very first picture ever uploaded to the internet. The picture is of the 4-piece all-female parody pop group called Les Horribles Carnetes. Play us out, girls.
But you never beat me. Ooh, la, 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 la. You always promise, but you never date me. Ooh, la, 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 la. I try to fax, but it's busy always. Ooh, wah, wah. I try to network, but you crash the gateways. Ooh, wah, wah. You never spend your nights with me, and you don't go out with other girls either. You only love your collider.
Oh, hi there. Looks like you made it to the end of the video. Did you have a good time? I hope you did. I'm supposed to tell you to like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and check out some of our other videos. But you already know you could do that. I just want you to be happy. And I hope I see you again soon. Good night.